Greetings, brothers and sisters. So this is the Tokyo Olympics opening ceremony. um, and the point of this video, or at least, you know, one of the points of this video, is about it just really doesn't matter, right? And you can see this on a daily basis. It doesn't matter. Like, no matter what happens, like, we're going over the cliff, right? You can do whatever you want. You can handle it whatever way you want. But in terms of the civilization we're 100% dependent on, the system, we're going over the cliff, right? There is going to be drastic changes to everyone's lifestyle and the structure of the world in the, very near future. It's the end of something. And you can see this. I just want to go through this a little bit of this opening ceremony here. So these are supposed to be veins. At some point, they make it into the heart. It's, the music is melancholy and depressing. And why are they doing that, right? This is supposed to be the intricate workings of the body.
Starts to take on the feel of the bloodstream, the heart, the life force.
And it's an empty stadium, right? The thing's an empty stadium. I'll show you whatever's going on live at the Olympics in just a moment. But this is, an empty stadium and really depressed music. And just, it's just like it's life-sucking.
The creators really expressing that the beating heart of the Olympics are its athletes.
Yeah, that's not what they're expressing, right? They're expressing it just doesn't matter. Then later on, so my wife and I were watching, we got up to about this point. I said, this thing with the string here. They put out a bunch of yarn, and they had the dancers come out, and they were...
Now transitions to the portion of the program the creators are calling Connecting the Dots.
Connecting the dots from the creators. And they brought a bunch of yarn. I was saying to my wife, you could go to Walmart and get $20 worth of yarn and throw it into a room full of toddlers, and you basically get the same thing. The toddlers were basically create some version of this same dance. Getting twisted up in this string, or maybe even rhesus monkeys, right? This isn't like, some brilliant work of dance art. And so there's just a level of fatalism here. What I know about the Japanese culture, and I think it's because they live on this triangle of fire, is it called? It's these fault lines where there's all this volcanic activity, including on these islands themselves. And we've seen that, of course, with Fukushima and, that nuclear power plant that's still gushing radioactive water out into the ocean, and just the nature of living on borrowed time, like the Japanese islands are supposed to, sink or something like that, right? That's why there's these very, paper-like houses there because of the earthquake, so they can build the things back up, and fascination with like Godzilla and things like this, right? And you see that, you can hear it in the music, and even in the cartoons, the anime and stuff. There's a level of this, fatalism and pointlessness. And so it's not an accident that this is where these Olympics are being held. After all these grandiose Olympic ceremonies in recent years. And it's a ritual, and it's always got some sort of occultic and Freemasonic or Illuminati or satanic symbolism. There's always this stuff at the Olympics. And then they have empty stadiums here and these depressing dance numbers. There's a whole bunch of them with melancholy music. It completely sums up 2020 and 2021. And so then they had some sort of a classroom thing. My wife and I watched up to the string point, and I had taped this, and I just fast forward to see if there was, any Illuminati, whatever kind of stuff. I wasn't even... I mean, it was thoroughly like the life sucked out of me. And this guy starts tap dancing for some
Of course,
reason.
there's an Olympics. You build it.
He starts fucking tap dancing. He stops freaking tap dancing. You know, this is some ancient Japanese song, but why is he tap dancing?
I like that.
Oh, buddy, you got it. Just show your stuff. Here's this handball game, right? This is just going on live. I was watching something else. They have 3-on-3 basketball now. And there's nobody there, right? There's no crowd.
Fairly
There's
unusual
nobody
for
watching.
players to get that far away from that 6-meter line. That
Whoa, look at he did it.
What a rifle.
That guy right there.
Cannon
Drooks.
from Drooks.
Drooks did it. Drooks got it done there. And it's just empty, like lifeless. It's like Thanos snapped his fingers. Tennis.
And it is out.
It's out.
The
Tennis.
Greek looked pretty confident with her fist pump, knowing it was wide.
Nobody there, just, people playing sports out there by themselves, in Tokyo.
And now
Some sort of
great
heat wave
chance for the
going on
14
there.
seed.
She needs that first
No,
serve.
no crowd interaction, empty stadium. It just doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. Like, nothing matters right now. Like, why even try, to get out of there? Like, the Olympics, they've made it as bad as they could make it, depressing and life-sucking, uninteresting. I want to cover JoJo Magoo in a different way, a different narrative, different perspective. I'm going to go back to some of the stuff I covered yesterday or the day before, whatever it was. This is from the Huffington Post, though. Joe Biden responds to rally heckle with a ding of Donald Trump. So you would think that he got him with a real zinger, right? And so you would think what he says here is going to be epic, right? By that headline. This is Terry McAuliffe, who's a complete tool. I guess he's running for something in Virginia. I don't know what. He was, he's a Clinton person, a Hillary Clinton. He was like her campaign manager or something. And so, so you'd think by the headline that he has some epic swipe at Trump.
That's okay. That's all right.
It's okay. It's all right. It's
That's
okay.
all right. No. Let him talk. No, Look.
Let's go, Joe. Let's
First.
go, Joe. Look at this weird MF back here.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Look, it's not a Trump rally. Let him holler. No one's paying attention.
Yeah, they're all paying attention. That was his zing. This is not a Trump rally. Let him holler. No one's paying attention. Well, they're all paying attention. That's why they're, he's laughing. You've stopped the speech to address the heckler. Everyone's paying. Like, that's not factually true here. But it's just the whole, that they made this sound like he had a moment, like he said something funny or brilliant or whatever it was, right? But I want to go back to this very important moment in the town hall. And I covered this yesterday, but I thought about this morning after meditation. I was like, this is really effed up what he says.
Those of you who travel abroad, not a joke. Not a joke. You asked, when I went to this G7, all the major democracies, I walked in, and I know a lot of them because of my role in the past. And they walk in, and I said, America's back. And they go, I'm serious, heads of state. I give you my word as a Biden.
I give you my word as a Biden. Now, I made jokes about this. I give you my word as a Biden. Now, it's messed up with old Joe and his family and his crackhead son, and that's one level of this thing, right? But why would he say, I give you my word as a Biden and raise his hand? Like, that's what a perpetual liar does in a world full of liars. You understand this? Listen to that again. And watch him raise his hand up.
And they go, I'm serious, heads of state. I give you my word as a Biden.
See, why would he have to say that? Like, why would there be any doubt that he's telling the truth? Why would he have to say, I'm giving you my word as a Biden? like he's swearing on a Bible, right? Like that's what a liar does, and people who are surrounded by liars do in a world full of liars, because otherwise, he's supposed to be telling you the truth, and he does this all the time. I mean, he says, I'm not joking, this is serious, I'm not being salacious. I mean, these are things he constantly says. He's constantly having to tell you, no, I'm really telling the truth here. I'm not lying. Like he has to do it. Like in this town hall, I didn't watch all of it. I watched maybe 7 minutes of it, right? And so the 7-minute segment I watched, he said it a number of times, and then I went back going through trying to find this part, and I found another time he said something like,
major democracies. I walked in, and I know a lot of them because of my role in the past. And they walk in, and I said, America's back, and they go, I'm serious, heads of state. I give you my word as a Biden.
I mean, just a bizarre thing to say, right? Constantly saying to you, I know you don't trust me. I know you think I'm a liar. Like it's something a salesman or somebody would say, right? Saying it over and over again. Like, yeah, I can see that, nobody should really trust me because I'm a career politician. I've lied pretty much all the time over my career. But this time I'm not. I'm giving you my word as a Biden. Just to, think about that, right? Think about that's your president, and he's got to go up there and swear on his name as a Biden, right? Held his hand up. I'm giving you my word as a Biden. This is true. This is true. I'm about to say something true here. I'm making sure that it's extra. I'm giving you a boost to your confidence that I'm not lying here by saying I'm swearing on my name as a Biden. No, I swear on my mother. No, this is true. Right? And the reason you would have to say that, right, is if you've been caught lying so many times, you constantly have to say to people, no, I'm really telling the truth this time, right? I'm not crying wolf this time. I'm not lying like the other times. This is I'm telling the truth. I'll give it the extra boost. Anybody got a Bible I can swear on? Because I got to give this. I'm giving you the extra truth boost here. And CNN had known about this. Now, Joe Biden, of course, had to withdraw from being president because he lied. He plagiarized and took other people's speeches and pretended the facts in those speeches, the stories about his family and things like that, were true. And so he's been known as a career liar. But back in 2015, when CNN wanted Hillary Clinton to be the nominee, and they did this hit piece on Biden's presidential candidacy questioned after gaffes. This is CNN, and it's 2015, February 25th, 2015.
Gaffes are stealing the spotlight away from speculation about his presidential aspirations.
For their trust.
Like his strange hold on Defense Secretary Ash Carter's wife, Stephanie, and this claim about Somali immigrants in his hometown of Wilmington, Delaware.
So they're saying this claim that he's making, right? A false claim.
It's a large, very identifiable Somali community. There's an awful lot of driving cabs, and are friends of mine, for real. I'm not being solicitous. I'm being
for real. This is for real. I'm not being solicitous. But even CNN back then, which never, counts Biden's lies in gumballs, they counted Trump's lies in gumballs. Thanks for the gumball, Mickey.
For real. I'm not being solicitous. I'm being serious.
And it turns out factually incorrect. Only 15 Somalis live in the entire state, according to the Census Bureau. And Wilmington cab drivers told CNN they knew of no Somalis driving taxis.
And so they got him, right? They got him lying here.
For real. I'm not being solicitous. I'm being serious.
I'm not being solicitous, right? I mean, he says it over and over again, but he was. He's actually lying. He's actually lying. He doesn't have friends who Somali cab drivers because there is none, right? In the whole state, there's only 15 Somali people in Delaware, a tiny state, and he's lying. And CNN catches him lying back when, they didn't want him to be president. They wanted Hillary Clinton. So this guy is known as a career liar, and he always is saying stuff like that. No, I'm not lying. I'm not lying. I give you my word as a Biden. No, this is not a joke, right? This is what this guy does over and over again.
I mean, how can we believe you, Joe? but will the country ever get it together? I talked to Xi.
And then, he goes into this other part that's, to me, the most important thing of this, the most important piece to this. But like he had to swear on his name as a Biden that people said to him, "Are you really back?" Like, is that what other foreign leaders would say to him? Are you really back? Are you sure, Joe? Is your country really back? Like they went and these other leaders went up to the president of the United States and said, "Are you really back?" Like, why would they say that? No, we don't believe you. Are you really back? We're not sure.
Xi Jinping in China, who I know well. We don't agree on a lot of things. He's a bright and really tough guy. He truly believes that the 21st century will be determined by oligarchs. I'm not a joke. Democracies cannot function in the 21st century, the argument is, because things are moving so rapidly, so rapidly, that you can't pull together a nation that is divided to get a consensus on acting quickly. So autocrats, autocracies. I had a long meeting with Putin, and I've continued. I know him well. These guys actually are betting, I'm not joking, on autocracies. Democracy has to stand up and demonstrate it gets.
How is that a joke? I'm not joking. How is that a joke? He's saying to you, and I said this before, I mean, it's a big statement. I've said this, that he's saying that if you guys don't adhere to what we're telling you, if you guys don't go along with our agenda and, to accept all these things we're forcing on you, it's going to be an autocracy because democracy's failing because of the internet and because big changes have to come. There's a, crisis, right? There is a, worldwide crisis here, multiple crises. Things are moving fast. And if you guys don't go along with what we're telling you, even though I have to remind you over and over again to trust me, I mean, this is not some great leader that you would handpick, and I'll come back to that. This is another central point here, that you would handpick to be, in charge of the most powerful country in the world at a time of massive crises, right?
Get something done. It's not just important that I really mean it.
I really mean it. Again, I really mean it. I really mean it. He's constantly having to say, hey, I'm not a liar. I'm telling you guys the truth.
Mr. President, we're just getting started.
We're just getting started. Like, and he's getting them out of this thing. Then there was this one.
Prepared. Why weren't the Democrats prepared for that to happen?
No, they can say that, and you can make honest judgments about it. I sometimes get myself in trouble for what I'm about to say.
He does this thing where he laughs or whatever and smiles, but he obviously is answering to people. Jojo Magoo isn't some criminal mastermind, right? He isn't some brilliant criminal mastermind. He's a political hack, and he's clearly not running this thing. Like, why even care about what he says? Because he clearly is, he might as well be in a conservatorship like Britney. Like, he's just being handled and managed. He had multiple, lapses of cognition, which he always does, and we've all got used to it. But he doesn't inspire confidence in anybody. Like, nobody thinks this guy is some great leader. So this is early on, and he's just, babbling here.
Or the mom and dad, or the neighbor, or when you go to church, or when you're... No, I really mean it. There are trusted interlocutors. Think of the people...
I really mean it.
If your kid wanted to find out whether or not there's a man on the moon or whatever, something, or, whether those aliens are here or not, who are the people they talk to beyond the kids who love talking about it? They go to people they respect. And they say, what do you think? And so they should be asking other people, the people, for everything from their teachers to their ministers to their priests to people that they trust.
He's just babbling and lost here. And it's throughout this thing. If you just go through it, you're going to find him saying over and over again, I'm not lying, or babbling, or telling stories that don't go anywhere. But what he's trying to say here, they're talking about disinformation, which is a big thing now, right? Because of the internet. There's so much disinformation out there. But in reality, my entire life, it's the history of humanity. the people don't really know or grasp the official story. So you would have a few people who maybe watch the news. The news isn't something that is watched by the majority of people. And so back even before there was news, there is the official story that's put out there. I see it all the time here in the comments or messages I receive from people. I see that people don't really understand what I'm saying here. Oftentimes people misinterpret what I'm saying. They think I'm agreeing with them or disagreeing with them when I'm not. They don't understand what I'm saying. People will send me links, bizarre links. I'm like, why did this person send me this? Like, why in the world, if somebody watched my videos, they would send me something like this? Or I even just say, send me things that I can use and turn into a video. I'm not here to watch other people's videos, right? People send me truther stuff all the time. I'm like, why'd you send me that, right? Or I say I can't talk about something, and people are sending me stuff all the time on that subject. So I see it all the time. People don't understand what I'm saying. And so you even see it more when people do like interviews with man-on-the-street interviews, and people don't know who the vice president is, or they don't know basic historical facts that everybody learned in school. And so people don't really understand the official story, and that's been forever. You'd have one or two people who get the news or whatever it is, and they like to talk and give their interpretation of it, and there's all these rumors. I was talking about this with my wife. We were talking about different things that we heard when I was a kid. There was this stuff, bubble yum. Is that still out there? Bubble yum. It was a form of bubble gum, and it was new when I was a kid. And then the rumor was started, probably by Bazooka, that had dominated the bubble gum market for years, that bubble yum had spiders' eggs in it. And we were talking about these different rumors we heard. There was a rumor about Richard Gere and a gerbil, and Rod Stewart, and they pumped his stomach. I mean, some of you guys in my generation would have heard these rumors, and they floated around from school to school, word of mouth, traveled across the country. False rumors, fake stories. I mean, fake news has always been there. People very seldom really understand even what candidates stand for. So that's when you look at Joe Magoo and you said, how can the Democrats vote for him? Because their perception of reality and what they want to see and what they've heard through disinformation is completely different than the information you're getting and the information that you're looking for. And so disinformation has always been there. It's not something new, and just a lack of understanding by the people. It's never threatened society, right? Like they're saying it is now because of the internet, because now the disinformation is more accurate. There is accurate information out there, and it's undermining people's confidence in the media and the government, right? And that's what they don't like, because there's real information out there that's undermining this, this movement they're pushing at a time where they really have to get this thing done because the economy's collapsed and they really have to push in a new deal for everybody. There's a complete lack of faith in the media and politicians. Here's the moment where he loses himself and he forgets what he's talking about. And this happens quite often.
That's underway, just like the other question that's illogical. And I've heard you speak about it because I'm not being solicitous, but you...
That's another thing he says a lot. I'm not being solicitous. I mean, he says these things all the time where he is got to reaffirm that he's not a liar and he's telling you the truth. So I added that. I'm in the editing process here, and I just added that CNN clip from 2015 while I was editing. And so here's where it goes back to him saying he's not being solicitous, which means showing fake concern, right? Where he's showing concern, and, it's like being sanctimonious is another. That guy was saying that to Brian Stelter, which they do all the time. But it's faking and acting and pretending you're concerned when you're not, right? And, using fear and getting people to worry and making the story bigger than it is, right? All these things. And this is stuff that Jojo Magoo has always done. And he's the one bringing it up, right? He's the one saying, hey, I'm being solicitous here, right? Like, you gotta fact check me here. This is my word as a Biden, right? He's the one who's questioning his own integrity.
That's underway, just like the other question that's illogical. And I've heard you speak about it because you always, I'm not being solicitous, but you're always straight up about what you're doing. Yeah. And the question is whether or not we should be in a position where you are, why can't the experts say, we know that this virus is in fact, it's going to be, or excuse me, we know why all the drugs approved are not temporarily approved, but permanently approved. Yeah. That's underway too. I expect that to occur quickly.
Well, that means, you mean for the FDA?
For the FDA.
Yeah.
So, like, even Don Lemons, who, how can he not be looking at this guy and going, he's lost mentally? I mean, Don Lemons is supposed to be a journalist, right? And he's covering for him. He's trying to make sense of what he's babbling about here. And he constantly does that. I mean, he's always lost. Jojo Magoo is just always lost. I mean, he doesn't have coherent moments anymore. Like, he's not able to keep a sort of a cognitive grasp on what's going on around him. And, you know, why would they handpick this guy? Because he was handpicked. I mean, think about it. Was he handpicked because he would be the guy to lead the country out of crisis? He was handpicked out of a sea of bad candidates. And I saw him do it. I covered this. I watched the primaries. This guy was lost. He was always never, you know, this guy was never a gem. He was never a superstar. You know, if you think about, okay, going back to Reagan, Reagan had very fervent supporters, right? George W. Bush, he had, you know, the evangelicals, and he had a, you know, a very, you know, a solid fan base. Even Al Gore had, you know, his environmental fan base. And then you take Clinton, Obama, and they had charisma, and they were able to connect to, you know, and create a very enthusiastic fan base, both Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. Hillary Clinton couldn't do it. She didn't ever have really a fan base other than some feminists who just wanted to see any woman be elected, right? And so Hillary Clinton never really had much of a, you know, support base because people just didn't like her and connect with her. Donald Trump did. Bernie Sanders does, right? Bernie Sanders did. He had a lot of people who were enthusiastic about Bernie Sanders. And the way the world works now, you know, in the internet and all these things, to be a influencer, you don't need to appeal to most people. You just have to have some number of people who really, you know, like you or really connect with you and are enthusiastic about what you're presenting. And that's, you know, across the board in politics and everywhere else. Joe Biden never had that. He was a known entity. He was Barack Obama's sidekick, and he was an alternative to people who thought Trump was going to destroy the world. And he was the big name out there when they ran him. But he showed he wasn't up to the task during the debates, and no, he cared. Like, Americans just don't care. They don't see it. Americans have been so dumbed down and hypnotized, they just wouldn't even be able to look at Joe Biden and see this guy. And he's constantly telling you guys, he's constantly telling, you know, his supporters and audience that he's telling the truth. Like, no, I'm really telling the truth now. Don't worry. I swear my word as a Biden. I'm not being salacious. No, I really mean it. I'm not joking. This is true. This thing's true. I'm about to say something true. I'm not, you know. I mean, he's constantly having to remind you that he's not lying because he's a liar. But even with that, he's not, you know, he's not capable of leading the country out of a crisis. He's not a superstar. He's not going to add him to Mount Rushmore. They handpicked this guy because they need a fall guy. They need someone to blame for all the shit that's about to go down, right? You know, I mean, that's why they would pick this guy. That's why they would pick Trump. They needed people that they could blame. They needed fall guys. They needed patsies. Trump's a patsy. I mean, Trump, you know, revealed his patsiness post-election when he tweeted, what kind of way is this to run a country? Right? He's the president. And he showed you what his real status was, that he wasn't in charge of anything. He saw it just falling apart. He's like, he didn't have any real power. And they just, you know, rolled him. You know, they just, you know, and this is why you can, you know, bet that they're not trying to solve problems, Trump wasn't going to solve problems, and Biden isn't going to solve problems. They're not going to, fix what's going on. They're there to take the blame. They're there for people to have some object to vent their hostility and their, the new deal that you're going to get. People are going to want to rage at somebody. And they put this guy out there, and Kamala, who's equally unlikable in her way, even more so. They put these guys out there to take the heat for the collapsing American economy and system. Again, he is not some criminal mastermind, right? Speaking of masterminds, let's go to Britney Spears. She put up a couple of disturbing posts. Now, this is a person who is right now trying to prove they're not crazy, trying to prove that they can get out of a psychological prison, basically a psychiatric hold, a conservatorship, where she can have more kids, get married, control her own money, right? And they took it away from her because she's crazy, because they say she's crazy. And so a good way to get out of that thing is to not do stuff like this, right? Is to not, there she is, getting close, bowing down, doing some sort of pseudo yoga pose, flipping her hair, giving you a smile, flip her hair back, give you a smile, do one of those, do one of these, do another one of those. She just can't stop. Like, she loves to swirl her head around. She did it again. She likes to, get her hair involved. This is what she do, right? And this is what crazy people do, right? People look at this and make fun of it, mock it, do whatever. But it isn't a way to get yourself out of a psychological prison, a conservatorship, where they're saying you're not mentally competent and you're giving them crazy. And I've said this before about the Cubies and Alex Jones for the truth community, that when you're under scrutiny, when the attacks against you are that you're crazy, then you don't do stuff like this, right? And, her fans should speak up about it. I got henna tattoos again and put this video together in 2 hours. No professional lighting or camera equipment, just me playing around, doing my thing. Yeah, your thing is crazy. P.S. My hands are smaller than a 6-year-old's, so excuse the edit. I like it because we all want Britney to be free. She's not going to be free. Serving toxic vibes with these floor dips. Wowza. Selma Blair gave her a heart. That's Selma Blair, her. She's somebody else suffering from some sort of physical issues. She had some sort of, cancer or something. I mean, these are celebrities. She makes you want to put on a bikini, turn on the camera, and start dancing. Yes, queen. Like, these free Britneyers don't get that this is crazy, right? It's batshit crazy. This is not the way to prove to people you're not crazy, by doing crazy stuff, right? By doing crazy dancing. And, I get a number of comments from people that, like, Britney's clone, that's not Britney. And again, going back to the theme of this video, what does it matter? Like, why do they don't even need Britney? Like, there's no resistance to what they're doing. The people who control the system. They don't need to throw Britney out. They can, these parts are interchangeable. They didn't need Joe Biden. They didn't need Britney, right? Why would they clone her? Like, it just doesn't make, this idea of cloning, I was one of the first people to cover this, right? Because they can clone cows, horses, monkeys, rhesus monkeys, similar animals that have similar DNA to human beings. So if they can clone these animals, they can clone human beings. They clone dogs. They had this contest where people who had dying pets could get their dogs cloned. And so this is something that they've been able to do now for a number of years. They can clone people. That's a fact. But what they can't do is clone somebody and make them into an adult and program them in some way and make them be able to walk and talk, right? You have milestones when you're a baby. Like, starting off when you're, in utero, and then you come out, you're born, and then you're able to crawl. That's a milestone. And then you're able to, sit up or whatever it is, right? You're able to eat solid food. you're able to have your first baby foods. And then you're able to walk. And then you're able to run and talk. And then you're able to, be potty trained and things like this. These are major milestones, right? These are things you do on a daily basis. You're able to sit up, you're able to walk, you're able to talk, you're able to go, pee-pee and poopy in the potty, right? You're doing this, now, right? These are things that stick with you. Like these are accomplishments that you use throughout your life. And, when somebody goes into a coma, you can lose these things. You lose the ability to do some of these things, and you have to be rehabilitated. When people are in a coma for a long time, their atrophy sets in, muscle memory disappears, and you have to go through rehab to retrain your body how to do some of these things. If you have a stroke or you have, some of these types of, whatever it might be, you have to go through rehabilitation to learn how to redo these things. And so what this idea is that they are able to clone celebrities and somehow clone them to where they're going to age in the cloning process in an accelerated rate and just stop it when they're 38 years old in Britney's case. And then they're going to be able to program this clone and get them walking and talking and doing all these things, not go through the natural milestones as a baby and create create an adult person that they can substitute. And they don't need to do that, right? Somebody was asking me about cloning Joe Biden, or is Joe Biden a clone? I'm like, is that the is that the cloned version, right? Joe Biden and this incompetent, mentally ill, like they cloned this dude and he's got dementia already. Like, there's why do they have to do that? They don't have to do that. These pieces are interchangeable. There's no resistance. They're not going to, there's people who don't want to accept certain things. It's hard for them to get you to accept certain things right now, right? Some people are not going along with the plan. But in terms of overthrowing the government or some sort of revolution, there's nothing. There's nothing on the table. I'm going to come back to this. So here's the word usury.
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 Usury. The illegal action of practice of lending money at unreasonable high rates of interest. The medieval prohibition of usury. What is the usury rate in the U.S.? 36%. And I know this because I had a credit card company that dinged me for 36%. And I'll come back and tell that story. But it is something, the biblical is usury, a sin in Christianity, a sin prohibited by the 8th commandment. Usury is, again, something that is, a horrible thing, right? Can you sue for usury? But our economic system, part of it is usury. Part of it is usury, and that part is that 36%. Think about 36%. That's more than a third in interest, right? Crazy amounts of interest. And I had that dinged on me, my family and I, years ago. There was a maxed out credit card, and we were just able to pay the interest on it, right? We weren't able to chip away at the balance. It was one of those things, revolving debt. Many people get into it. And our credit card went from 12% to 24% to 36%. And it was just because they knew, right, that there was just free money for them. 36%, that's the kind of interest you get from a loan shark. And now Biden is taxing people as much as like 44%, some brackets of income, 30%, 44%. And then you add state taxes in some places, and people are paying like 66% of their income in taxes. A majority of what they're earning is being paid in taxes. That's all usury, right? That's a part of the usury system. And you have like zero interest loans for really wealthy people, right? Banks giving them low interest loans. But if you think about all the interest you pay in your lifetime, plus the the national debt that is being racked up by our government that we're all on the hook for. You think about your car payments with interest and your house payments with interest and your sales tax and your state income tax and your federal income tax and all the interest you're paying all over the place. They're taking a large portion of your earnings. Up to, It's a partnership with you and the government, and you're paying more than half of what you make in these different fees. There's an old saying, I don't know where I heard it, but it came to mind. We are the ones we have been looking for. And I say this over and over again, that people in the truth community, people like me who make videos, that's all we're doing, making videos. We haven't come up with a solution to the problem, the solution to the liars, the uninspiring celebrities and politicians and sports figures that dominate our existence in terms of the media, and our corrupt system and our lifestyle and the misery that people are suffering from, even with full bellies and internet and electricity and comforts, all the things that people have in their life. And yet people find a way to be unhappy. And now that those things seem to be dwindling or being taken away, they're even more unhappy. But they weren't happy in the first place because they're lost. People suffer from anxiety, are self-medicating. It's a complete mess. Human beings are a mess, and our system's a mess. And part of it is because of the economic system. I've covered it before. I don't have to get into it here. But it is a short-lived system. Usury is a bad thing, and it's part of our system, right? It is, a Ponzi scheme, a pyramid scheme. There's so many ways that our system, our rigged economic system that is based in debt and therefore demonic, is a short-lived system. And they have, made it bigger, global, than, anything that's been used before in terms of one of these systems, and it's doomed to collapse, right? So that's one piece to this. And the other piece to this is you have people in the so-called truth community. Many of them are putting out lies and really can't understand the truth any better than the so-called sheeple. You have sheeple who are sort of semi-awake, but they're not really awake, right? And, and none of us really are on a spiritual level. I mean, we are, to whatever extent. We have an understanding of the illusion that is planet Earth. But in terms of our current system, there's no way to save it. And I've said it over and over again. And we don't have a plan. Nobody has a valid plan on how to deal with $2 quadrillion worth of debt, or the collapsing energy system, the collapsing food system, the collapsing economic system. These are the three pillars. Any one of them goes, the whole thing topples, and it's going to happen, right? And, just talking about to other people, that was the thought. If we could just get everyone else to see what we see, that's what people think about when they come into the so-called truth movement or the woke movement or whatever it is. If we just get people to see it the way we see it, then we could come together and form a consensus and get something done and change it. And that's, that's not on the table, right? What you could do is have a revolution. And there's a way to have it, which I'm not going to talk about it here. It involves the military basically turning and going against their, generals and the president. But even if that happened, there's still no solution, and you would be blamed for the collapse of the system. The system's going to collapse one way or another. It just, who's going to be blamed for it? Biden and Britney and all these people who are just a mess, right? This is, they're the face of the collapsing system. They're the face of a dwindling way of life. And so taking that over, I've said it time and time again, taking that over just means you're going to be the one who's going to be stuck with, being the fall guy, or your group of people is going to be the fall guy for the system collapsing. All these different movements that are happening now socially, that people who have been oppressed forever think that they're, or feeling like they've been oppressed forever, are now getting some run and they're getting some support for their movements. It's happening right when the collapse is taking place, and they're going to be part of the fall guy. Joe Biden's a fall guy. Like, he's not a criminal mastermind, like I said. He's a fall guy, right? These are the people who are going to be the face of the collapse. And so this is something important to know. There's no solution being bandied about here or anywhere else that is going to save the lifestyle. See, the problem is the majority of us can't imagine a system or living a lifestyle different than the one we have. Supermarkets not filled with food, electricity not being there, gas not being there, all the things we're accustomed to. No TV, no internet. We can't imagine a life without all of these privileges, all of these, perks. And so no one's going to give that up. Let's say we understood a better way of life based in spirituality. Make people happy if they just could see it and accept it. Like God gave us a vision and we saw it and we came up with an economic system and a plan where everyone would be taken care of and everyone would, going back to maybe a more tribal existence. Something that we'd have to give up a lot of our lifestyle, but we could live better lives and we'd be more connected to God and more in harmony with our soul and nature and all these things. And we could really see it. It's great. It was a solution. And so you formed a way to create some sort of revolution and take over for the government. And then you go to the people and say, hey, look, we have this vision from God. It's a great thing. This is the way, this is the way it's going to work. And they would all go apeshit, right? They wouldn't accept that, right? They wouldn't tolerate that. It's the same thing the people who are controlling the system now. They have to sell a lifestyle reduction to all of us. And, it's not by choice. I mean, maybe it's a little bit by choice, but it's because it has to happen. The system, all of it, like it's just not one part of it, is collapsing, and they're trying to do their best to salvage their power and control. And, they have to sell something to people who don't want to buy it in a system that's a confidence game. They have to do it without people having complete freak out that the system, because it's a promise to pay income. It's a promise to pay economy, I mean. So, the dollar is a promise that the government's going to make good on it, that the government's backing the dollar. And when the government says, yeah, we're completely, bankrupt and we have to do a new lifestyle and you better accept this deal or it's going to be, Mad Max out there, right? And people would flip out and say, oh, the system isn't as strong as you guys have been saying. It's destructible, and they would flip out, and, that would create a Mad Max situation because the whole system is based in perception, your perception that the system is strong and will always be there for you. Do you understand this? So nobody has a solution because there is no solution. There is better systems. I talk about this with the heartfulness meditation, connecting to God on a deeper level, internally, internalizing your existence, and the transmission that's there, right, in terms of helping people connect and the cleaning and the process. And then people have to embrace that because there's lots of people who do it, including myself, who, only, half-ass it or whatever it is, right? I mean, there has to be an adjustment where people internalize their existence and include God in their decision-making and get rid of some of their, bad behaviors and behaviors that go against their soul's path and hurt their spiritual journey. And people have to choose that. It can't be forced on them. So that's for people to choose collectively. And, good luck selling that to people, right? Good luck selling any of it to people. People are just, pigs just, happy as a pig in shit or a pig wallowing in the, in mud or whatever it is, right? And so, this is how the human beings are. Even though people are miserable and their behaviors and their selfishness and their entitlements and all the things that are happening in our world are making them more miserable, selling them something that would mean they'd have to give up their, wallowing in shit or whatever it is, right? They would rebel and go after you. They're not willing to do that, no matter who tries to sell it to them, whether it's their guy, the other guy, or some, revolutionary power. That the only thing people want to hear is that their system and entitlements that they've come to, believe are their God-given right is going to be continued in the future. And that's not possible. That's not going to happen for any of us. And so the first thing has to happen where there's a shock, right? There is a collective understanding that your lifestyle, the way that you, thought you were going to live the rest of your life isn't going to continue. Like that's going to happen to people, and now it's just like, well, it might happen. We think it's going to happen. It's like, all right, it's just there. People are like a little bit nervous, a lot more nervous. Well, maybe there is an apocalypse, right? They're a little bit more nervous than they used to be. But until it happens, then we don't know how we're going to react and other people are going to react. That's one of the unknowns. And then will people connect to God on a deeper level and we'll see what happens. I mean, in terms of people I know who have done the heartfulness system for years, read the books, and they believe in the system, they believe in the teachings, and there are teachings out there that, it's some of the primary teachings that this is going to happen. And they aren't accepting of it. They don't believe it. Or, if they do, it's like some far off thing. No, don't worry about it, right? They don't even want to talk about it. And so, I've seen it. And I'm like, all right, whatever. We'll see. Whether, we'll see what happens. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And then the next part is, how will we deal with it? Are we going to go up? Are we going to go down? What are we going to do? And that's the unknown. Will people rise up to a higher level and take the opportunity, give up on some of their lifestyle, but take the huge spiritual leaps and bounds they can take? We'll see what happens. Like that's, right now I can see there's not any possibility for change because people are too rigidly connected and addicted to this system, myself included, right? I don't want to give it up. I'm just, and I know about it. Like I've done some of these other things, which I like to do, the homesteading and things like this. And I'm a little bit more aware, a lot more aware than some people, of what kind of leap that people are going to have to take in terms of work ethic and connecting to community and giving up on lots of the, pleasures and things that people have, right? In terms of abundance, you can still, be fed pretty well. You can still have enough food to survive. You're just not going to have all the different kinds of foods you get in your grocery store. You're not going to have all the kinds of, just order something on Amazon, have it show up your doorstep the next day. Those things are going to change, at some point. And I understand that, having done the homesteading and having, been aware of this for some time. And I'm not any more happy about it than anybody else, right? I have, the older you get, the harder it is to physically adapt, right? When things get rougher and harder and whatever it is, less comforts. But it's something that's there. It's something we all have to face. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paramano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.